Дуже дякую. It is always much easier for a scholar to talk about the past or the present, something that concretely was, has been, or is right now, than talk about the future. Especially my task today about talking about the future of Ukrainian studies is particularly difficult because we live in very dynamic times. The university system is changing, especially in North America, and it affects very greatly Ukrainian studies, but not only, humanities in general. And because of that, exact predictions are really impossible. However, there are certain trends that I would like to discuss with you, and certain things that we can do in order to make sure that whatever future will come, in whatever shape, we will be ready for it. I have to connect with the past because certain things that I will explain may perhaps not be very well known to you how the academic world works. I hope that many of you will agree with me that in my view, one of the greatest accomplishments of Ukrainian diaspora, especially in North America, has been the establishment of the field of Ukrainian studies in universities, and establishment of the university programs in these Ukrainian studies at Harvard, at various universities in Canada and the States, and then the institution for which I have a privilege to work, the Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies. I have to say without undue modesty when I work with this, that it has been these institutions that defined the idea of what Ukraine is, the understanding of what Ukraine is in the West, and they continue to define it. They continue to influence all of the political decisions about Ukraine, and fundamentally all of the books that we have published collectively are defining not only what the West thinks about Ukraine, but right now what Ukraine is rethinking about itself. Two separate spheres that Ukrainian studies actually operates in, and both of them are extremely important. Both of them have their own challenges and opportunities. One of them is the teaching. I'm myself involved in both of them. One of them is teaching, and this is, of course, the preparation of the new generation. This is the passing of the knowledge. This is cultivating young talents and young minds. But the other one is research and publications. This is already what, to some people, scholarship is all about. To actually to pass the knowledge not only to a group of students, but to anybody involved, and especially to break new grounds, to gain new understanding. And I will start with the teaching, and I can tell you right now that as far as this sphere, North America is currently facing severe challenges. However, I want to start with a success story. And this is Western Europe. And this is thanks to our North American programs. I can tell you that for over the past 30 years, I can talk about my own institution, Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies. We have constantly cultivated contacts with scholars in Western Europe who were somehow connected with Slavic studies, with somewhere there was Ukraine on the horizon. You may know that 40 years ago there was not much of Ukrainian studies in Europe at all. Actually, even 20 years ago, it was in a very, very rudimentary stages. However, we have identified these scholars who were promising, and we were inviting them for conferences. We are publishing their books. We are publishing their articles. And I will tell you what happened a few years ago. A few years ago, two of such scholars whom we helped when nobody was helping them became chair of two major German universities. Now The chair of history at Heidelberg University is held by a Ukrainianist. And the chair of history in Regensburg University is held by a Ukrainianist. These are not Ukrainian studies. These will be Ukrainian specialists who are teaching general history, general European history. And this is, and I can tell you that because the system of universities in Europe is different than it is in North America, and it is still at the current university educational crisis, it's much more stable than what we have here. This actually sort of guarantees that Germany soon will become a serious player in Ukrainian studies. And we have already recognized this, and our institute established a German, was key in establishing a German-Ukrainian historical commission. We just had a very major conference in Kiev in September, in which there was a discussion of the 1917 revolution and the Ukrainian revolution of 1917. And apart from that, we right now have in Vienna, in Switzerland, in Cambridge, a few in Sweden, and in Milan, actually Ukrainian studies professors having jobs. Almost all of them are the ones who were supported at the critical time by our institutions. Now, it seems that Europe will actually do pretty well with teaching. However, not so greatly in Canada or the US. And the problem here is because the universities are changing. The universities in North America are moving away from education to the education business. From teaching to making money on students and on making money on scholarship. And unfortunately, this is something that cannot be in many ways changed. However, although I am absolutely sure that business planners and bureaucrats are absolutely crucial for universities, when they take the first place and they decide educational policy, it causes major problems in the system. And this, one of the things that it affects is the Ukrainian studies. Ukrainian studies, unfortunately, has always been an underrepresented area in number of students who are taking it. Most universities in Canada establish now quotas, approximately 15, from 10 to 15, but normally 15 students per course as a minimum. Otherwise, the course is cancelled. This basically not only cancels most Ukrainian studies courses in Canada, it actually already closed 2 major programs, and one of them in Edmonton at the University of Alberta, and the stronghold of Ukrainian studies. So we are facing that great challenge. And I will address a few things what perhaps we could do about this, but I will then move to the next sphere because I don't have time, and it is the research and the publications. In this area, we probably have never had as many opportunities, as many chances as we have right now, and also we have probably never had as many accomplishments. I already heard today a mention of Anne Applebaum's book. These books don't come from nothing. Anne Applebaum's book was written because of a commission from Harvard, from the University Studies Fund, and with the support of the Canadian Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies, specifically the Holodomor Research Consortium, established by Mr. Temertey, which provided the entire research for Anne's book. This book would simply have not existed without our institutions. And this is the book that now, perhaps it doesn't say anything new to us, the scholars, but it says so much to the general public, which is actually going to read it. So at the one hand, we are in a phenomenal right now high in a sense of research and possibilities. Ukraine archives are open. Ukrainian scholars work with us. Western European scholars work with us. However, the danger is that how long will it last? If we cannot get the educational program going, there will be no next generation of scholars. There is also a very great number of problems with the scholars already educated, who do not have jobs right now because Canadian universities and American universities closed Ukrainian studies programs. And these scholars, we try to help them right now. We try to help them because we know that the time will come when they will be needed. And perhaps, hopefully, some of them actually go to Western Europe right now. And because what can we do as a diaspora, as a community? And one of the basic things that we could have done already over the years, and we unfortunately have failed, is to convince our young generation that it is so important to know more about Ukraine. It is so important to take university courses in Ukrainian studies. It is not enough to say that there were some Cossacks at some time, that there was some national struggle somewhere and not exactly know. You need to know, people need to know their high Ukrainian culture. They have to know history, detailed academic history. Have we had a number, as a lecturer in Ukrainian, in the history of Ukrainian culture, I have depended on non-Ukrainian students for my enrollments. In the university, which has over 1,000 Ukrainians among the students and over 300 in the Ukrainian student club, and I cannot get 2 of them to attend the Ukrainian studies course. This is something that as a community, by example, by giving ourselves, by reading ourselves and discussing with our children, the actual academic history of Ukraine, the actual academic culture of Ukraine, perhaps we can do that. Of course, there is also other things, because this is a long process. Political and financial support of the institutions. It is the endowed chairs that continue to exist. It is Harvard, who, with the smallest number of students, still continues to teach Ukrainian studies. And as a final sort of positive example, I want to bring back the Holodomor Research and Educational Consortium, established by the member of our community. Established thanks to the donation of the member of our community here at the Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies. It is because of our REC that a number of conferences took place on international meaning of the famine, which connects it with the Chinese famine, connects it with the Kazakh famine, and in general, our last book is The Communism and Hunger, how communism used hunger as a policy not only in Ukraine in order to promote their policies. And a number of people who are in completely different fields are now incorporating the knowledge of Holodomor into their research. This is a support, political, financial, and moral from the community is crucial for us to go further in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marko.